Hello, my name is Nick, and this is Zumb's Public Transit Guide. Zumb's travel blog. Today we are talking about Germany's public transit, how you ride it, what there is, the many different types, tickets, everything you might want to know. Because in the US, we don't really have public transit, but in Germany, it's there, and it's always late. Talking from my experiences around Munich and Munich's public transit system. To my knowledge, it's pretty similar across other cities in Germany, but just know that other cities may be slightly different. Okay, in Munich, there's four types of public transit. You got the S-Bahn, stands for Suburban Rail, or Stadtschnellbahn, or Fast City Train. It generally connects the towns around Munich into the city. So, for example, I'm living in Feldkirchen, which is a city outside of Munich, a little town, and it has an S-Bahn stop. It's mainly above ground, but also goes underground. You also have the U-Bahn, or Underground Rail. This generally connects areas within the city, but it can also go a little bit out into the suburbs. There's a town between Feldkirchen and Munich called Messestadt, and that has a U-Bahn station. If it's not any confusing, it mainly is underground, but also goes above ground. The other thing that I mainly use is buses, called bus in German. They go pretty much everywhere, generally connecting the towns around the city to each other and also generally running in the city. The other type of transit that I've not used yet is trams. So these are your like trolley cars. So they're mainly inside cities and they function similar to buses except they have their dedicated lane they go through. So how do you actually ride transit? Because it's not exactly the same as the US. Start with buses. So buses will pull up to the stop, generally some sort of structure, sign. A lot of times they'll have like the route information posted, which is really nice for knowing when buses will come and where they'll go. Some stops have like a sign that tells you like a live time of when the bus will be there. Generally a couple minutes later than it's supposed to be there because it's German public transit. One thing is once you get on it, there'll be like a little area to deposit a ticket. The big thing is if the door doesn't open, there'll be like a button or a like handle to pull and the door will open. I've never seen the door not open on a bus because normally the bus driver's paying attention to where people are trying to get on and off. But the big thing you need to know is there's going to be a red button, and if you want the bus to stop at a stop for you to get off, you need to push that. It'll say you push it, some sign will turn on. You hear like Wagen halt, and that will say to the bus driver to actually stop there. Because if not, if there's no one standing there ready to get on, the bus will just go right past it, and you won't be able to get off. Trains. So this is U-Bahn and S-Bahn. I find it much more often that I need to use that lever or push a button for the door to open, especially with the S-Bahn when it's like outside, they don't want it cold. Other things you want to pay attention to on both S-Bahn, U-Bahn, and buses, those generally be like a screen that has next stops, very useful for figuring out what is going on. Though I do have a warning that sometimes with like the buses, it doesn't, like it's just a blank screen. And like I had a bus that didn't have the number on it. So like most buses will have like a number on like a screen somewhere outside the bus so you can know what route you're getting on. And it didn't have any. So I went up to the driver and asked like where does this bus go with butchered German, and he responded where it was going. Talking about route numbers, pretty much every route. So like S-Bahn will have S1 through I think 10. Same for the U-Bahn, U1 through whatever, and then the buses are hundreds of numbers. Every time there'll be a number, and then a lot of times you'll have a city. So the city is where the route ends. For the most part, everything just goes to the stop and then turns around and comes back. But you need to make sure what direction you're going is the right direction. Make sure you have the right route and number and the right city for your direction. Especially on trains, there'll be like a loudspeaker that'll announce like the next stop and some other information. It's always in German, not uncommon for it also to be in English. For actually finding which route to go on, Google Maps is pretty darn good. I've had it give me some weird results though. One time it wanted me to get on a bus and ride it for 7 or 8 stops before it would end like right where I started. It's never been horribly wrong, and does keep up to date with like, oh, there's construction here or this is running late. It does get those and relay those to you. But every once in a while it'll just recommend something weird. So just make sure you're kind of sanity checking it. If it like has you do a million moving over from bus to train to bus, maybe don't do that. But it's most of the time very good. For Munich, we have MV Go app, so it's official. It's pretty much the same thing as Google Maps, but I find Google Maps is a little bit easier to use. The big thing that this has, it also has tickets, ticketing. So you have to pay for public transit. It's not free. That being said, I have never been checked for a ticket. What I buy is the Deutschland ticket or D ticket. It's a monthly subscription, and it's just all of public transit in Germany. So pretty much the only thing you miss out on is the Intercity Express or ICE, which is like the fast train that goes between cities. But anything for local is covered. It would be cheaper for me than buying a ticket, like a monthly ticket for just Munich. It's really simple and just easy. Though it's probably not actually monetarily worth it for me because I don't actually ride a bus to work. I walk to work. So you kind of have to do some math. So it's 58 euros a month to in Munich. It is 4 euros and 10 cents to basically get anywhere in the city, at least by train. Buses is a little weird. So that's one way. So it's like, okay, if I want to ride more than 15 times, then it would be worth it. But I probably ride like 3 or 4 times a week. So it's close, but I think slightly not worth it. One thing about the Deutschland ticket is you do need identification uses. So it's not transferable. So if you do get checked for it, they're going to want to see some sort of identification. Officially, that's just my passport. So most of the time when I travel somewhere, I bring a passport. But I've talked with my coworkers, and generally, as long as you have something to prove who you are, you're probably fine. Like a U.S. driver's license would probably work in case you don't want to carry your passport with you everywhere. Talking about other tickets, there's not really a great place to buy like bus tickets. The train stations have like kiosks where you can buy the train tickets. MV Go has everything digital you could possibly want. Where it has like a nice feature where you like basically swipe, you push a button when you get on and then when you get off, and it automatically calculates the cost and does all the thinking for you. That's basically everything with German transit. One thing to note is that it is generally late. So this is lots of Germans will complain about it, but like buses are generally a couple minutes late. S-Bahn can get really bad for like 10 to 15 minutes late, but I've seen horror stories of a lot worse. I've not had too much issues. I've missed one transition because of it being late, but pretty much everything will run at like a bare minimum every 20 minutes. So worst case scenario is you lose 20 minutes. So it's not too bad. That's all. This has been Zumb's Public Transit Guide. Zumb's travel blog.